Welcome back everybody to the SRM YouTube channel. My name is Tim. Today we got a special little project. This is a test pipe for a Vulken steam locomotive. The engine in question was built in 1917, and unfortunately the ear on one of the sides and one of the mounting flanges is just all buggered up. So we're working on developing a replacement for it. So what I'm doing right now is this piece is significantly longer than any print bed I have available at the moment. So I'm going to have to break this into 4 pieces. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm making a cutout pattern. This is the same physical dimensions as the bed. So that way I can go through and basically lay out a group of cuttings, and then I'll go through and just slice them off one at a time. And you guys are seeing this as I'm doing it for the first time. All I did to kind of prep for this was to roll the piece into a semi-flat position, just to make things a little easier for me down the road. Anyway, and I realized that the piece was actually up just a little bit off the base of my platform here. So now I'm just going to creep the piece down a little bit and fine tune everything to the absolute max that I can put on my bed. And it really, in hindsight, I should have run my cutout piece just a smidgen smaller than the bed, as I ran into issues when I was trying to slice it right to the limit. But anyway, so yeah, almost got the first piece in position. I think I'm going to move this one over so it makes a nice clean flat surface for me to print off of, because printing off of an angle is fairly difficult. Okay, so now I've unclicked and then reselected. I'm going to duplicate the piece and shift it over the same width as the object, which will make each cutout piece be right flush with the prior one. In hindsight, I probably should have split this piece horizontally right through the middle and actually printed it in 8 pieces. Would have made packing it up and shipping it a little easier. It would have made printing it easier, but you know, I was kind of in a rush when I did this, and it ended up working out okay in the end. So again, we're just moving the next piece over till it lines up just perfectly with the prior piece. And unfortunately on this side, there's no good way to get around having a notch like that. So it's just a matter of choosing where you're going to put the notch. I opted just to have a little bit of a tab on the end. Figured that would be the easiest for printing. And this last little end piece that's not shadowed out, I actually printed it up on its on the flat end of it, and just which was the least amount of support material. So here I was debating about if I was where I was gonna cut it off at, and then I realized I should probably take and just put 2 shadow masks over it, so that way I can preserve the existing corner really nicely. And for this last mask here, when I hit the duplicate button, I just grabbed the edge of it and inverted it on itself. So all I needed was I left that one line in position so it shared a common wall, and then all I did was just drag it over, so now I got a good clean mask. From here, as a function of Tinkercad, it has this nice little handy-dandy backup feature. So what I'm going to do is uncover the pieces one at a time, and then hit Export All, and that'll allow everything that's in the field to show up. So everything that's masked will be invisible. So here's the first one moved out of the way. I'm going to go over to Export, and wait till this thing decides to do its thing. So now it's exporting the first one. And once that's done, now I'm going to go up into the corner here, hit back a step, and then repeat. Now I screwed up here and I forgot to click off of the mask, so it actually exported the entire cube there and not the other piece. I realized it a little later on and then ended up fixing it for the subsequent ones, and I went back and redid this one, but fortunately, because you can just back up what you're doing, it worked out really well. Now we've moved over to Cura, and unfortunately I haven't figured out the new version of Cura, so I still use the old one. I like the user interface is not as in depth as the new one, but for me doing simple things, I am kind of a simple person when it comes to stuff like this. I'm just going to keep working with what I know. But yeah, anyway, so we got the piece positioned, and then I thought I'd hit the lay flat button, which ended up spazzing out the build area just a little bit. So I kept fiddling with it till I got it to highlight yellow. And when it's gray like this, it just doesn't show up. Anyway, so I think it ended up being one tick over, and then I just straightened it out till it went yellow. And there it is. So from here, I wanted to experiment with some different infill settings and perimeter settings. I ended up going with just a single perimeter because really this piece just has to be the rough shape. I also dropped it down to like a 5% infill, which isn't so good for quality or structural integrity, but I needed something that worked or was able to print quickly. And yeah, so I got this one. That one looks good. So now moving on to the very last piece, which ended up being a little bit awkward. And there we go. Finally got it to position and look all happy. This one's kind of an oddball because all the others had at least one flat side on them, but this one has that weird little corner piece on it. But yeah, it worked out pretty good. I think I'm going to do, because I'm going to need more than a spool, I'm going to run the first piece, which is the longest print, on printer number 3 here. And I'm going to run the other 3 pieces on this printer, or I might just run 2 of them on here. But this has already got an almost empty spool on it, so I'm going to swap to a fresh spool of whatever I have available, because unfortunately we're in a little bit of a time crunch on this one. I need to have all these prints out of here in like a couple days. So we're just gonna get rolling and hope for the best. Let's see. And then the glitch with printer number 1, I got a home, or printer number 3, I got to home everything ahead of time. Print from SD. Rocker Vulken. Print number 1. 20 hours. Alright. So this is warming up. I'll take a moment to just kind of clean up the bed. Unfortunately, it gets a little buildup of the glue I use. Alright. You'll get to see this on the other one as well, because I got to do both printers. Okay, that one's ready to run. Alright, and then this printer, I'm going to need to warm it up a little bit. Let's see. Control nozzle. It's a lot easier to change the filament on one of these with everything warmed up, and then I usually bring the bed up to close to operating temperature so it doesn't have to work very hard to get up that last little bit, because the extruder warms up much faster than the bed does. Alright. Pull this whole fan off. Alright, and somewhere around here with some cutters. Reach in here and cut this off. Little partial spool, definitely wasn't going to make it. Not for these big prints. Make sure we line this up the correct direction so it'll pay off nicely. Remember, as soon as you take the clip off the spool, you always want to make sure you have a hand on it, so that way you don't have it go where you don't want it to go. Alright, and I'm going to take and just very carefully poke a little nubbin of filament back in, as we're almost up to temp now. Should be able to get it in there. And in you go. Yeah, I need to give it just a little bit more temp. Let's bump it up to 170 something, because this was right at the edge of not being able to go in at all. There it goes. Okay, now we can assemble this. So that's pretty much that. We're going to finish heating this one up and start running it, and give you guys an idea of scale. So here's the end cap, or you see where the flange is going to be, and then the cutoff piece. This is just the first elbow. I had to, like I said, I had to slice it into 4 pieces just to make it fit. Alright, we've got the first piece coming up press now. So unfortunately, I got on the piece that's running right here, I did get a layer shift, but for the purposes of this, it's not the end of the world. Alright. A little bit of support material that needs to come off. Not a big deal. I ran these just a single perimeter on the outside just to use the least amount of material and get it printed as fast as possible. So I didn't do any support material inside here. You can see it's all stringy. It's a little irritating, but whatever. This is just a big piece to go, boom, it doesn't fit. So anyway, moving on. Gotta get this warmed back up and start the next one. Now, I just realized why this thing had a layer shift. You notice how close this end of this carriage comes to the Z-stop here, and I forgot on this printer I actually cut that off because it hit when you ran right to the edge of the bed. So it shifted right on the peak line there. This is right where it was, it probably struck right there. So anyway, oops, I guess I'll have to fix that as soon as this print gets done. Fortunately, again, this being off just a couple clicks won't hurt this thing in the end. It should fit up close enough where we go, yep, it's gonna work or not work. Alright, well, quick update. We got the first 2 pieces done. It really doesn't look that big on video until you actually hold it in your hand. But I got piece number 3 is 24% done, and just getting started with piece number 4. So hopefully I'll have this done, be able to send out here real shortly. Yeah, continuing on. Alright, we're getting close to the end here. We've got the second flange almost done printing. I think we have just over an hour remaining on the time. But yeah, we're just about got the whole pipe done. Hey, you'll see this should be getting ready to plateau off here, probably another ½ inch or so, and then I got to do this little beveled section so it'll actually lock on there, which surprisingly enough, it actually worked out that I had all my support material on the one side, so this assembly only really goes together one way, which would be nice for when Keith gets this into the engine. Anyway, I did have some issues with stringing on the inside here, mostly because I chose to not run any support material on the inside, but not the end of the world. Probably could have run a lower layer height and that would have helped with some of it too, but whatevers. But yeah, here we are. So just about done. Not the best prints in the world, but fast and big tend to not go very well. I think we've accomplished what we needed to for this fit up. But yeah, hopefully get this sent out. It's Saturday. Post office open for a couple more hours. So yeah, I gotta try and get this shipped out ASAP. Anyway, that's about it.